Hello everybody, my name is Gay Dinley, and I couldn't be more honored to be here today to introduce two people who have been so inspirational to me and to so many of us, Peter and Allyson Sawtell. I'm a member of Wash Park UCC, and that's how I've gotten to know Peter and Allyson over the years. So I thought it might be fun just to start in this world where I know them and talk about what it's like to be friends and members and pilgrims together on this journey. So what's it like to sing alto next to Allyson? Well, the first thing you know is she's very generous. She's so supportive and she makes everyone around her better. But after a while you realize she's not just building up the people around her. You see her name on the music and you realize that what you're singing, she's written. And then you realize just how good it is. And you can't wait for her to write more, because when you sing what she's written, you are changed. And then you begin to really understand how deep Allyson's gifts are. Music, poetry, ritual, and how they all come together to transform us. This is Allyson's world. Speaking of poetry, this is what it's like to send a photo of your puppy's first snowflakes to Allyson. In a little while, you get back a poem, because no moment of wonderment is too small for Allyson's roving eye for deeper beauty. And most recently, this is what it was like to attend the post-election interfaith worship that Allyson had such a large part in crafting and pulling together.
We can be together and know hope,
which is a candle of presence.
May these lights brighten the darkness of the time in which we find ourselves now.
I dare say every one of us on that Zoom service was transformed. If you've worked at the inner city parish with Allyson, or attended a gun violence vigil she spearheaded year after year, or laughed or cried or sung or marched with her at an Earth Justice rally, I know you have seen Allyson's unfailing ability to help us hear what our hearts are feeling deeper than we can say on our own, and to find ways to connect those feelings to action. It's a ministry in my life that I cannot do without, and I suspect many others feel the same way about Allyson.
we're gonna take a group picture. Can you put it on the Facebook page?
This is what it's like to attend a climate march with Peter. He's everywhere. After this point, we didn't see him for a while because he was one of the organizers, not just of our contingent, but of the whole march, the whole movement in our area, and the whole movement in church communities across the country and even the globe. The first thing you notice about Peter is he'll make you laugh, even when you were thinking this is such a serious thing that we are a part of.
So, can you say a little bit about what is it like?
How long an answer do you want?
The other thing you notice, as with Allyson, you are changed. Peter has just this huge heart that inspired him to dedicate his life to connecting people to love and justice for creation.
We are asking pastors and congregations to commit to taking big chunks of time, anywhere from...
As you may know, Peter spent the last 20 years founding and running eco-justice ministries, retiring just recently from this long run. He's helped churches find the right entry point to bring love of creation more directly into their justice work, their liturgies, and their stances. He's helped activists find their spiritual core to keep moving forward. He's helped everyone who subscribed to his newsletter get educated and grounded in a personal, spirit-connected activism. When you've been around Peter for a while, one thing you find is you're not as easily knocked flat by the latest piece of eco-news that breaks your heart. Someone's working on that, he'll say, and here's how the faith community can tie in. Hope persists. His way of framing our path forward with a spirit of shalom. For me, and I suspect many others, Peter has modeled active faith and moral determination. Now, the fun thing about this award is it's honoring both Peter and Allyson, and this is where that front row seat gets even more interesting, because even though they've collaborated over their professional lives, I think they're still growing each other. In the last year, I've seen Allyson the poet take on leading the Kairos team at our church and writing an eco-constitution, the kind of thing that if you close your eyes, you might think, well, that's Peter's wheelhouse. And I've seen Peter, the essayist and community organizer, putting on his cinematography hat and crafting beautiful new visual technology and art direction for our Sunday services on Zoom. I'm so excited to see them both getting honored today and honored together. I've spoken today from a personal and a Wash Park perspective, but I know we've all felt their gifts and their love. And today, Peter and Allyson, I hope you're feeling that love right back at you.
We'd like to begin with a word of thanks. Thank you, Capitol Hill United Ministries, CHUM, for this award. We are deeply honored. And thank you for all the work that you do with and for this community.
And thank you to those who have logged into this virtual unluncheon to support and celebrate the work of CHUM and to join us in celebrating this award.
We've been asked to share what keeps us going. So to do that, we're going to go back to our roots, what helped shape and form us, how we see ourselves, and how all that keeps us going.
I go back almost 50 years to when I was a student at Colorado College in the early 1970s. I had the good fortune of being able to do massive amounts of studies in environmental biology, including months of field work out in the Colorado foothills and around the Southwest. And the notion of habitat and ecology and interconnection got baked into my soul as a life-changing part of me. A few years later in seminary, I had intensive studies in institutional racism, and that was an actual conversion experience for me, as I came to grips with the fact that I am a racist and I participate in systems of racism in this country, where those are so much a part of our history and our institutions. Those two ways of seeing myself in the world, ecologically and in terms of racial justice, have been pervasive in shaping my vocation and my commitments.
My roots go back to parents who did lots of volunteer work in the areas of social service, outreach, and politics, all during my growing up years. A sense of outreach and service was formed in me early on because of those experiences. But then when I got to my church youth group as a junior and senior high schooler, I began to see the systemic work of challenging the powers that be, of working for change systemically. I remember fondly going with our youth group and youth minister to a suburban shopping mall in Kansas City, Kansas, where we showed films of the famine in Biafra and urging people to write to the UN so that the UN would recognize Biafra and send aid to end the famine. Needless to say, the UN didn't recognize Biafra, and we got thrown out of the shopping malls. But I saw the church out there in the community, in the world. I had a vision of the church in the world in prophetic witness and prophetic action, challenging status quo, working personally and systemically for change and for healing of all of creation.
Those deep and foundational experiences have shaped who we are. They've shaped our identities and our commitments. What we've done in recent decades as keepers of the earth grows out of unshakable convictions about our ties to communities of faith, to the mandate for social justice, and the commitment to an ecological world. Now, those commitments have often been in conflict with the world in which we live, a world that is in deep ecological crisis and is sorely lacking in social justice. Our response to that tension, especially as members of the clergy, has grown out of a sense of prophetic calling.
And we see that sense of prophetic calling in the sense that theologian Walter Brueggemann has seen it. And that is calling out unjust systems and business as usual, proclaiming something is not right, and helping the people lament and grieve their losses and the pain in the world. Now, I'm pretty good at that. I'm pretty good at the calling out and the lamented. But what I really struggle with trying to do is the second task of the prophet, which is to imagine an alternative reality, a different way to be, a new world, calling folks to be building up a better world.
That prophetic imagination often doesn't spell out the precise details of the world that we're hoping to find, but it does insist that a different way of being is possible and even that it's essential. I found that the ethical notion of eco-justice holds up the possibility of a healthy earth with enough for all, and without the exploitation of people or the rest of creation. I find that broad vision is the standard that we use in calling our communities towards transformational change. Absolutely. So we see ourselves in this prophetic role, but we act it out in different ways. And I see myself, for example, or living prophetically and acting prophetically through ritual and poetry and activism. Especially that ritual in poetry, that touches our souls differently than prose or head stuff does. Ritual and the arts give voice so often to what we cannot speak, gives voice to those emotions that we cannot maybe even dare express and that can paralyze us. But the arts and ritual can empower those emotions instead. As I've gone about my prophetic work, I've often looked at myself as a preacher and a teacher, drawing on faith traditions and on science and on ethics. And I've tried to help other people to learn and to absorb and to be transformed and compelled by these new understandings of the world.
Mm-hmm. A long time ago, in our first parish, we served 2 rural churches, and right out of seminary, one of our church members looked at our different styles of preaching. And he said, "Peter, you teach them. Allyson, you reach them." That was so true.
In terms of what's kept us going in that diverse work, Allyson and I have both found that it's important to draw on the strength of community. In my work, especially in the last 20 years with Eco-Justice Ministries, it has been so important for me to have a network of support and encouragement with our home church at Washington Park United Church of Christ. And that community has been foundational and powerful in shaping who I am. It's been wonderful for me to be able to be a part of the national ministries for creation justice with the United Church of Christ. And it's been profoundly important to me to be connected with and aware of many movements for social change and ecological healing. Because we cannot do this work alone. We can be a part of broad movements, but we cannot do it alone.
Right, and that brings to mind what also keeps me going is that same thing, is that sense of community. I call it beloved community. We are all in this together. You're here because we are all in this together. Beloved community is the goal and the foundation out of which we work. We're hardwired for connection. We're real people sharing a sense of vision of the world we need to change and the world we want to build. Beloved communities of hope and hard work help us imagine something new. That's where we hold up the vision and we hold up each other when our hearts grow weary. Beloved community is where we grieve and imagine, organize and hope, laugh, stand up, speak out, so that we can feed each other and feed the world.
Through the years, I've often been asked by people, where do you find hope? And I've found that I have to give a complex answer to that, because there's two kinds of hope in the English language. There's the hope for something that we want to see out there in the future, and it calls on us to have optimism that that might happen. But what's more important for me is placing our hope in deep convictions, in deep community. Theologically, we place our hope in God. And that hope is present right now, and it empowers us in this moment to keep on doing that hard work.
That's why we keep on keeping on. There's a wonderful line in the song, The Great Peace March, that goes, "We will have peace. We will because we must." And that's what keeps me going. I will keep going because I must. I can do no other. That's who we are, is to keep on going. Also, music and laughter are essential for all of us. Pete Seeger said the right song at the right time can change history. Songs can make movements. Songs can also touch us so very deeply in our own souls. We need music. We need laughter. Both of those are sources of joy, and they're acts of resistance.
As we end our reflections today, we want to share with you a blessing that Allyson, in her poetic style, wrote a while back.
Okay. Be blessed, all you who seek to make peace, you who stir up good trouble. Be blessed, you who let grief for the world and its brokenness settle into your heart, yet you dance in the darkness.
Be blessed, you who keep going on along an unknown path to a future that is not guaranteed, for you embody hope. Be blessed, you bridge builders, you strivers for community and the common good.
Be blessed, you who try and try again, who pick yourselves up and keep on moving. Be blessed, you who listen, who open up your heart of compassion and refuse to hate.
Be blessed, you who speak truth to power and call out injustice and walk your talk. Be blessed, you who are courageous even as your hands tremble and your feet stumble.
Be blessed, all you ordinary folks living and loving, tending and creating, finding ways to bring beauty and love into this world. Be blessed, you lovers and menders of creation. Be blessed.
Be blessed.
Be blessed.